Emisión.net.
Hello again and welcome to Letter from England, broadcasting for AC Press and the Spanish Evangelical Alliance. My name is Jonathan Dawson. A spokesman for the Catholic Episcopate in Spain says that 2008 is the moment of truth for the financing of the Catholic Church via the voluntary tax contributions available on annual tax returns. Hence the huge advertising campaign currently underway on TV, radio and in the press to try and galvanise the rank and file to tick the box. For those who don't live in Spain or are unaware of the tax situation, on annual tax returns there's an option to tick a box which allows the government to give a small percentage of that tax for charitable purposes. Currently there are just two boxes available. One for the Catholic Church, which under a new agreement with the government receives 0.7% of any tax due from that particular return, whereas the other box is for other charitable purposes. Many of those other charities are themselves Catholic operations. And there is currently a debate, raging I think is probably the right word, amongst other religious minorities, evangelicals included, as to whether they should have a box as well. And of course, evangelicals are very much divided on this issue. Well, it's a sign of how poor Catholic giving to their church actually is, that such a campaign is necessary, as people are not even being asked to cough up any money. All they have to do is tick a box, which means the government will designate a tiny proportion of their tax to cover costs in the Catholic Church. But it would seem that many Catholics are not actually, or not even, willing to do that. Not all of them, of course, would agree, as many evangelicals would not think either, that the state should be financially supporting one religious organization, as it doesn't support any others. Many evangelicals, of course, would believe that it shouldn't support any, but certainly I think most would agree that there should be no discrimination of the current sort, whereby one religious group, the Catholic Church, does receive state funds and all the rest do not. Well, that aside, the aim of this campaign is to increase the number of taxpayers who avail themselves of this Catholic option. However, the more immediate reason behind the campaign is that the government is finally beginning to weary of bailing the Catholic Church out of its annual monetary hole. For the first time, the Catholic Church will not receive this year a fixed amount from the national budget to make up the inevitable shortfall between what is given by taxpayers and what they require. Catholic spokesmen, including the Bishop of Ciudad Real, Antonio Algora, are insisting that from this year onwards the Catholic Church will be financially maintained, they say, exclusively by Catholics, i.e. as opposed to all taxpayers who have no option, ticking the box or not. If the government is going to make up the shortfall, they get the money anyway. Well, this remains to be seen whether or not the Catholic Church will be financially maintained only by Catholics, because the shortfall in recent years quite simply has been massive. The first stage of the publicity campaign has centred on the work of the Catholic Church and how it allegedly saves the state millions of euros a year. And the second stage is to persuade people to, as we've said before, tick the box. The aim is to raise at least 170 million euros by this means, 30 million more than when the Catholic Church only received 0.5% of a person's tax. As I said before, the figure is now up to 0.7%. But when that institution did not have to pay VAT, and the Catholic Church has only recently been forced to do so because the Spanish government was under threat of legal action from the European Union over the issue. Well, figures show that a third of taxpayers ticked the Catholic box on last year's returns, with, as I say, the only other option being other social projects. The publicity campaign tries to show a modern Catholic Church and tugs unashamedly at people's heartstrings. So one is shown handicapped children, elderly people needing care, and support being given to the destitute. And in an astonishing mixing of concepts, Bishop Algora says, without blushing, Christians live in fellowship and must share their goods with the needy, and therefore have the moral obligation to tick the box for the Catholic Church. Well, he doesn't say Catholic, he just says Church, but I put that in so that we understand what he means. Well, responding to the criticism made in some circles, and certainly shared by most evangelicals, that the Catholic Church should not receive any money through tax returns, but should pay for itself, Algarda limited himself to what he called the commercial phrase: buy, compare, and if you're unsatisfied, we'll give you your money back. Let people compare the campaigns that we are running. Well, quite how he intends to give people their money back if they declare themselves unsatisfied with how the Catholic Church is spending it, I have no idea. But to suggest that Catholics have the moral obligation to tick the box for the Catholic Church perhaps rather avoids the more obvious moral obligation that members of the Catholic Church have to pay for its own costs. And surely Protestants would do well, and evangelicals, that is, would do well, to stand free of this whole issue, not to demand a box themselves on tax returns, but to stand out for the very clear principle within the umbrella of state-church separation that a church should be self-financed by its own members. Well, thank you for listening to Letter from England, broadcasting each week at emission.net. Goodbye for now.
Emisión.net